Boom. I think we are live. I think we're live. Let's see here. Gotta check the YouTubes. See if that's doing what it's supposed to. Maybe it is. 16? Are we on 16? Should be on 16. We're on 16. Yay. Okay, cool. Let's tell the people in the Discord. Going live. Boink. I mean, all 5 people might see that. Let's see. I think this will be... That is a huge... What's the share link? Copy that. Doink. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna get my screen here. I'm late today. Pretty significantly late compared to when I normally start these things. Had a bunch of things going on this morning downtown that anybody who knows me knows that's my favorite place to go, is downtown. Okay. Now I need a terminal window. Okay, drag this over here. Boy. And a big, there we go, one of these, a browser. And that should be enough to get going, I think. Let me see if I've got, no, that's not what I'm looking for. Yeah, that's fine. Nope. Don't want that. Okay. Okay, so let's get back into GajuDesk. Yeah, make sure I'm on the right branch. I am. Okay. GajuExpress. Should be I think master's the only branch I got so far. There's nothing to it yet. Okay. All right, so I want to get into... Actually, we already kind of put a bow on this one. So make challenge. Oh yeah, so we're doing that as we dispatch. Yep, pub key, yep, okay. So we'll do that. Split the screen. We're over here. GajuExpress and GDN recover. Okay, I should probably actually prefix that out more. I had another devious idea driving today, which was point-to-point encrypted private messaging and integrating a chat backend that we've messed with in the past called Trash Talk, which is started out as sort of a tutorial service. Well, it's not a service of tutorials. It was a tutorial about how to write a service. They kind of, I don't know, it's occasionally found some practical use. Signing into it with GajuDesk is entirely possible, but also SSH sign is pretty good too. Anyway, figure it out. My point is that there's a way to do discrete chat using our public keys that we have on chain. And the cool thing about that is that your same ID on the chat or same IDs in the forum or same ID logging, it's the same ID that you would log into Gaju Market with, same ID that you would use to have somebody send you stuff privately on GajuExpress, so on. So it's kind of like by building up a number of little interesting little services like this, none of which in isolation is really compelling, altogether starts becoming kind of compelling. There's a potential maybe for a demonstrator case too of like a social media that runs through a discrete context where you could like open a state channel and have your plug GajuDesk into a state channel to act as your sort of funding mechanism for it, and have the service that you're paying for in like tiny increments actually stream payment requests to you, and you fulfill those, and you can watch the accounting go while you're using like a website. So you might be using a website, but you have like a Gaju, like a capillary, so state channels, you have like a capillary screen open, and you see it like as you're doing the thing on like the site, you actually see this completely different channel that can't be corrupted by the web directly, doing like micropayments, and you could stop it whenever you want because you have to sign those micropayments, and you can delegate a certain amount to be paid, or you could prepay or whatever. But yeah, there's some strong ways to be sort of a unified identity that's not tied to like a government ID is maybe kind of a strong idea. But we'll have to play with these ideas and kind of flesh them out. You can't really force these things into being. You have to let them emerge. That's my feeling anyway. Not everybody's feeling. Let's see. So we're in receiver. Okay, what do we have going so far? I have not been. This morning I wrote a little bit. That's what this like poll is. I wrote some stuff to get a hold of, well, like spacing and just kind of make things a little bit. You'll see. Run local. Run coal. Run local. So we open test well. So there's like some spacing here and there. It's like a little bit. The layout's a little bit tweaked with bordering and things. But the fun part is when we go. So yesterday we fixed the hotkey so it doesn't require double press. Now what happens here is check for downloads. Oh, I have to run the service because there's nothing to talk to. Run local, and as I've been told, I never listen, so I have to make sure that I do listen. Okay, so over on this side, if we do check for downloads, what we'll get back is an empty list. Should get back. First, it's going to, when I click check for downloads, a whole chain of events is going to happen. This key is going to be sent to GajuExpress service, and then GajuExpress is going to create a challenge and say, well, are you really that key? Sign this with the private half and prove to me that you are that you have that key. When that happens, we can't. I mean, we could, but it's not good, in my view, to have GajuDesk ever sign anything without prompting the user and saying, "Is it okay to sign this?" Even if it's just a login message like this, I don't want that to be fully automated. There's a sharp trade-off between security and convenience. And the tendency today is to lean so hard into convenience that just security is completely not a thing. Koritsu? You. Not. Korean satsu. So say kyusho? Oh, okay. All right. So anyway, we lean so hard to convenience that security is not even. It's not just an afterthought. It's like not even a thought. And that is leading us into an incredibly dangerous place. If you told somebody in the 90s how much personal data would be tracked about you by like Google today or the government, almost every government is doing things so illegal, like blatantly, crazily illegal, that people would have revolted a long time ago. If it were a long time ago, but it's not a long time ago, it's today. And people are just like, TikTok brain. So we've leaned so hard into convenience that we don't even think about it. So at least here in this case, when we're when we're authenticating ourselves, that authentication should come at a tiny price. And that's at least saying, do you want to sign this or not? So when I click check for downloads, a modal pop-up should come up and it's saying, requesting authentication signature. This is the account, right, that we're trying to sign for. And then the message is GajuExpress challenge, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so we do that. And over here, we got a connections accepted from, this is like IPv6, localhost, whatever. And then that's the port number. This was the account that we were just looking at. Authenticating, got signature, blah. So when I clicked OK, that's what came into this side. And so it checked it and it's verified. So, okay. And then the manifest, this is what that check is all about, right? So check for downloads. Well, what downloads do I have? So I have an empty list of downloads because empty list means I have 0 downloads. There are not any up yet. So the way that is happening over here, I'm explaining this out loud, but this is kind of me vocalizing what I'm doing, catching back up with my own thoughts. So what happened is we authenticating, we saw that just a second ago, then got signature, the signature. So we don't really need these to be, printed to the screen. These tells will go away later, but then send manifest. Send manifest makes a call to GE client man. So we'll open that guy next. GE client manager and manifest. Okay. A manifest is a list of meta, and meta is these things. The name of the file is a UTF binary string, UTF-8 binary string. The size of the file in bytes. The timestamp is not going to be a timestamp like wall clock time or seconds or whatever. It's not Gregorian calendar based. It's not Unix calendar based. It's none of those things. It is based on the height of the chain at the moment. So the timestamp is the height at which the file was created. And then the TTL, that's how many heights to keep it alive. So height, how many generations, how many heights? It's the same thing in Gajumaru. So there's 700. So there's a generation every 3 minutes, which means that in one day there's 720 generations. So one day is 720. So if I want to keep it alive for like 3 days, 720 times 3 is how long that is. So this is the expiry height. The expiry height is the timestamp plus the TTL. And then the signature. Now that's whether or not the thing is signed that was sent. And then the signature itself could be a little tuple that's an ID and a signature or none. Either way is fine. So the list that we would be getting on this side, so would do pending meh, is just a list of these tuples, and that's that. So the way that's drawn down is we're pulling, I think, an index file. Yeah, manifest is looking for an index file. So index ID. Index ID is, we're pulling the ZXLab path for GajuExpress storage ID, and then index eterms, cool, and we send that back. That gets, that list gets packed into a tuple that's labeled manifest, and we do turn to binary so we can go on the wire, and then we send it out across the socket, and the other side gets it or they don't. Here we actually did get it, would do pending, and that's that. So that, like, that's the whole process. So until we get to the point of putting a file over there, we're not going to have anything to send back. So, I mean, I could notionally do some stuff, but we already know that we're getting an airline term packed up that way. It's in a tuple with manifest. We matched on all that. So we know that that's all fine. If we actually make that a list of things, it's not going to change what we know about it. We know it works. So working on the other side of this, let's open that up again. We've got this file or directory. Now, if I click this, I can try to pick a location, like pick a file that I want to send. But I could also open up like if I open a document and I want to read this C++ overview document from back in the day, and that's what I want to send because it's super secret. I can do this. And what just happened is I got a path to that document, right? So if I have a path, like let's say that I want to send this icons directory using GajuDesk. GajuDesk has to know what the path is, but I can drag and drop that there, and it gets the path to the icons directory. So what we want to do, so drag and drop is really convenient. What we want to do is when GajuDesk gets this path information, we want to go ahead and populate this here automatically so that someone doesn't have to use it to go pick a thing. Because like users are used to drag and drop, so we can just use that mechanic. Not every system provides drag and drop, so we actually do need this thing here. And there's the do you want to sign and all that stuff. So let's get into the guts of this. Yeah, see, so that socket was just sitting there listening the whole time, like authenticated. But when I closed this, the whole thing died. Let's see here. There's a receiver, so we're going to need the writer. The writer. Well, actually, we don't need the writer yet. What we actually need, because the writer's only going to wake up when it's time to go. So the Express, GDV Express is going to know what the file is or know what the path is, pack it up, sign it or not with the sending key. It's going to do all that stuff, and then it's going to call the service because it now knows the full number of bytes, knows what it's going to send. Now it can call the service and say, hey, I want to send a file. And the service can say, that many bytes cost this much. Put that on the chain with this serial number. That'll be like an order number or whatever. And once I see that, like when you contact me back, you need to send me the hash of the complete transaction. And once I have that, then you can start sending me the file up to that number of bytes. You can't just send unlimited bytes, right? So we can try and do that. There's going to be one complication, which is that we don't have the call endpoint is not implemented in all nodes that we want. We have the one where you have to call, you get the transaction hash back, and then you have to call the chain again and say, is this committed to chain yet or not? Ulf wrote a really cool new endpoint that, because the 99.9% case for us is that transactions get included within 3 to 6 seconds, usually considerably faster than that. It makes sense to actually have a blocking network call where you make this HTTP call to the endpoint of the node and you say, hey, I'm submitting this transaction. I'm going to wait until like I'll wait up to 30 seconds until it has clear, like it's not cleared, but it's been included on the chain. So you sit there waiting, and it gives you, when you get the HTTP response back, it's already been included on chain, or not, but you can let it wait and block on that event coming through. And that's sort of an early test case for his like chain event listener. And secondarily, it's a really, really useful idea for doing stuff like this, where I want to submit a transaction to the chain. I want to wait for a second till it's done, then I want to proceed. Well, in this particular case, we don't have that endpoint that I can use just yet. I will be converting this code to use that, but what we're going to do here is we're going to wait for a second and then pull. And, well, maybe we'll wait for 3 seconds and then pull. But, it's not as cool, it's not as clean, but it will work. So, what happens when we get, where's this event coming? I wrote this morning, the file drag and drop, and it was really cool that it worked just that slick. So do drop, we're going to have 2 cases. We have one path or we have lots of paths. The case that we like is the one path case. In fact, I like the one path case so much. It might be better to actually block the multipath case. The reason being, if you select a bunch of files to include into a thing, you really don't have much choice but to include it sort of as a flat. You know, the last thing in the path, just put that next to the next last thing in like another totally different path. Now they're siblings, but in the file system, they were not siblings. That can be kind of weird. So, anyway. So what do we want to know about the path? We want to know, well, we want to know if it's a file or a directory. And I think FileLab has stuff for that. I forget. It's like is regular file or something. Is dir as file is regular. That's kind of cool. So is dir, this should always be true. Now is regular false. Okay. File, can we just do list? I think we can just do list dir. Oh, we can. So FileLab is regular get? Oh, it's not. Okay, how about license? It is true. Okay. Why is our dot files always get it? Oh, because get's a directory. I'm silly. Look, if I do file lister, okay. I'm just silly. I'd forgotten that. Yeah, dot get. Yes, it's a directory. Duh. Get ignores a file. Okay, so is regular and is dir. I don't want to handle a symlink case because symlinks, trying to tarball like symlinks, you get into like some weird option edge cases and all that. And we are not going to be handling somebody else's edge cases that they made up for themselves. We're going to be handling the vanilla simple case because that's what you almost always and only care about when you're sending a secure file. Or rather, when you're securely sending a file. So it's 13:30 here. It's going to be morningish time in Europe soon. So maybe we'll actually get somebody watching from Europe. You know what? I had a long morning already. I'm going to go get some. I didn't have any coffee either. Usually drink coffee on these streams, but I'm going to go get some superchargedness. I will be right back. Whoa, come on, camera. You can do it. Okay, there we go. So I just went and got the, one of those healthy drinks that probably shouldn't drink very often. But I definitely want to get through this today. So is regular, is dir. That's what we can know from there. Okay. Case filelib is regular path of true. Okay. Well, wait. We don't care about this step yet, actually. Okay, this clarifies things quite a bit. In that that interface thing where we had the file selector. Okay, this answers all my questions. So the dewdrop paths thing, what we're going to want to do is like ignore that case, maybe put a pop-up for the user and say, hey, don't do that. Oh, I don't want to write that way. This is a no. So we're not going to handle that case. The reason is that we can't do the file picker thing very well that way. So we've got a path thingy. It's WX object. And we're just going to set the path thing to whatever that is. That will be path picker. Okay. And we don't care what this is yet. We're gonna care after they've made all their decisions and decided to like pack the thing up. We have one additional thing, which is the send file button needs to be activated automatically once all the necessary bits are populated, and the necessary bits are the destination key, the path, and oh, okay. Actually, what we should do is that should be a check quote key until we've got the quote. And then if we change anything, we're going to strike that all and do it again. That actually is better. Yes, that's right. So we can't encrypt the file until we have the public key. So those are the two things we have to have. We have to have the path. We have to have the public key. Once we have both of those, then we can do something. So we're going to set the, I think it's set value, but I don't know. I'm going to check. We're just programmatically going to set whatever the path is inside of that little widget thing. What was it called? It was called a I don't know, because WX object is generic. Let's put all the polymorphism in, which you kind of have to interrupt with that library, but that's the key picker thing. Download box. Check B. No. Oh, that's the wrong side. Destination box, TTL, path. Path P is a file picker control. Oh, it's got a special one, set path. Sets the absolute path of the currently selected file. If the control uses WX FLP file must exist and does not use set control style, the file name must be an existing file and simply be ignored. Okay. Don't rely on being able to use non-existent paths with it. Okay. So that means make sure this exists. Okay, what happens if I do like that? Aaron, you know it. Okay. And so if I get a Boolean true or false back, or no, that's Lister. Is, okay, file lib is what? File? We know we have a license file. Oop, what did I do wrong? Oh, I put 2 of these. True. Is file get? True. Okay, so that's just like, does it exist? Because it looks like I can do source, which is a directory. Okay, so is it a location? That's a good enough check. So that's the check that we are going to do. Case file lib is file path of true, then what was this? Set path okay. WX, what's this called? File picker control. File picker control. Set path. Path picker path. And then what are we doing? Oh, okay. Check. Well, what do we call this? Maybe enable quote. State. Now, I am once again presupposing the existence of a function called maybe enable quote, but I just made it up. It doesn't exist yet. But it lets me know what step I would be doing here. So that's why that's that way. Okay, if it's not a thingy, then we are just going to be like, well, we're going to make a note of it for now. Thank you, Mario, but our file is in a different path. And in that case, we're just going to return state unchanged, and this state goes away, and that can't be a period. And now I have to write a thing called maybe enable quote state. And what I want in this quote thing is I want that file picker again. I want the, well, I need to have the public key. The public key thing, or was it destination? Destination T, which is just a text control. Okay. And what is it in the record? It's dest. Okay. So dest T, and path is path P. If I know both of these things, then I can go ahead and zip it up. Case. Need to come up with a little check function real quick. I think that when I get the path, it's just a, like, yeah, it's a character, it's a charlist. So case, if either one of them is empty, that's what I need to know. So we're just going to get the destination. The destination key is going to be, what is this? Text control. Well, we are on file picker. I'll just do that one first. Path. WX file picker control get path path p, and I think this is to say it's like WX text control get value. We'll check that in just a second. I think it's get value. I get mixed up between like get text, get string, and get value on different ones. Yeah, okay. And then I think it's get value. It is get value. Yeah, that's just a char list. Okay, so case length dest key is 0 and or and also or else and or come on or else length path is equal to 0 of, well, this is more fun to do the positive case, right? Let's do the positive case. Let's think positively. If the length of destination key and also is bigger than 0 and the length of the path is also 0. So if these are both true, then let's do something. And then if they're false, let's do something else. Okay. Maybe enable quote. What's that mean? Where's we have our action button at the bottom here. It's like upload button. Okay, so the upload button should actually be set to check quote first. Check quote, and then we're going to change it to, but it's disabled right now. See, this is what I'm looking at right here, over here. Check quote, and then upload button. Yeah, so where do I keep the upload button? It's at the upload sizer button, and I've got upload button is just UL. So I'm going to put that in the scope also, UL button. Okay. I think it's okay. No. So when I disable the control, if I disable, I think it returns like a Boolean, which is kind of like sketchy to match on, because if you want to have variable cases, you may not, like it's not independent, which is kind of weird. I don't know why that return value exists. Maybe it's window? Enable. It is enable. So enable and disable is on the Windows thing. Okay, so yeah, see, it returns a Boolean instead of okay. So I can't just like match on okay. I have to do like don't care what the value is, and then WX button. Not enable. Enable, not disable. Enable the upload button. Okay, and then just the state. And then if it's false, don't do that and return the state. And what's that mean? It means that we don't need to match the whole state, because we're doing WXE widget stuff the whole time. So we're going to make this return okay. Oh, well, I am going to have to. Okay. Yeah, okay, that. And then we're going to return okay instead of state. And then this is going to be the same kind of way. Okay. Oh, I didn't need to do it that way. Ooh, whoa, wrong thing. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so enable it if that's good to go. And that means we could just do okay. I am restructuring that so that I know ahead of time that this is not actually a state consuming thing. Okay. So if I have a key, we can try this now. So that's on do drop. We're going to need that same sort of thing to happen on what the checkbox click and on anytime we change the text input in the text control for the destination key, and anytime that we have somebody click the file, like the file dialog. So those are three things we're going to have to check, or three. Those different cases we're going to have to check maybe enable quote. And then also when they, you know what we actually should do here? We should actually do this. If those are false, we should actually disable just in case so that we don't get like wild clicks. And when we do get that, we're going to want to actually okay, we can change this to should enable quote, and we can return a true or false. And we can actually use that as the option value here and kind of simplify this a little bit. Okay, I kind of like this more. So do drop. Okay. Enable. And then ULB. There we go. So that's a little bit nicer. I kind of want to, I think this reads, but like I don't normally like highly composed things because they get to be a bit much, but I think this is actually fine here because it's more semantically like obvious. And I probably made a typo or something, but it doesn't matter. So let's see where my typos are. Don't have typos. Okay. Well, in that case, let's see what happens. Let's see what blows up if I put recipes. I'm going to securely send some recipes. Died. Okay. Something crashed. Path is recipes. I probably called like a function that doesn't exist or something. Yeah, it's here. GajuDesk. Tail. For blah. What I call enable the window and then enable false. Okay, option. Flash close WX window enable. WX button that we passed in. We passed in a list enable false. WX window. This is 27 431. Oh, gen. Okay, oh, generated, right. You might wonder why I'm checking this. It's because generated code sometimes in WX is kind of funky, and sometimes the docs don't like exactly align with that. So yes, I am actually checking the system library thing, but that's because I want to see what's going on. So 707 is where this supposedly barfed. WXRef type. We got the WXRef. Don't. Okay. Type this T. Options is list. Okay. There's only one clause here. Class to C WX window. Oh, well. But we've got a function clause error instead of that. So what? That's kind of funky. WUL. Oh, okay. That button is packed in. I see what's going on. So that button is actually packed into a little structure. Not that. Not that either. It's in the over in here. The upload button. Ooh, okay. That's what's going on. It's packed into this structure, and I passed that whole structure in, which is why that error seemed funky and impossible, but it's not funky and impossible. It makes perfect sense. Okay, and then same thing down here. Should enable, quote, this is going to need to be, oh, well, whatever. Doesn't matter. Anyway, the buttons are like wrapped in a different structure, which makes sense. So let's try that again. Dunk. E. What do we do? Oh, we drag and drop a file. So we're going to drag, what was I trying to send? My secret recipes. Okay. And we should have recipes. Look. So now that's populated with recipes like it's supposed to be. And this button is still disabled. Let's get a, so my other mining key is going to try to send recipe book to Derpy McDirkface. So Derpy, good old Derpy. Now we did not put an event on this yet, but we can check still by seeing if we want to put this random database thing that I've just got sitting in a file thing. Will that enable the button? It did. Look, it enabled. Look at that. Would do upload. So and it enabled our thing like we wanted. What I need to do though is we need to put an event on this destination ID being input. Which, how do I want to do that? I think there's just an event that it can emit to do that, which we can find in the docs. It's not going to be there. I want to get the text control. It'll tell us what events it can emit at this level, and there will be others. Positions, coordinate, styles. I mean, we could do it. ID cut. No. Event. Okay. Command text updated. So what we actually, okay, so command text updated and command text enter. Probably command text updated is what we want. So command text updated, we got to remember that because we're going to have our thing listen for it. Where's the destination one? This. Okay, so well, okay, dest t. So in our events down here, we're going to have ones like command text updated. I don't think I've used this one before, but we'll find out what happens. So press E, get that thing. Oh, it's huge. The event is so command text updated. Okay. What about the gonna have another one of these events. Oh, that's awesome. So S is what went in, and empty string is what was next. Then what happens if I paste all that? Okay. So any of these updated events actually gives us the okay, and then everything else still works. And I'm not yep. And this box doesn't care. Cool. I could probably use that event to limit this to just integers. What's this? Dangerous popcorn. Just read the description for your project. Seems interesting, but do you think private file sharing is an already solved problem mostly? No, actually it's not. Private file sharing is almost always a moderated function where you give the unencrypted file to a service provider that uses it and then sells it on the backside to like an AI training, whatever. And then somebody else downloads it, and everybody just pretends that the web is secure and that there are no certificate authorities that are compromised, which is not the case. The reason those services are free is that they are monetizing you. There are paid options for this, but they are considerably more expensive and they're prepaid, and it's very hard to make like a really teeny tiny payment because the cost of sending a secure file to somebody should be like, a fraction of a penny. But the cost of making a credit card payment is many times more than that. So my point being that the monetization dynamic of secure file sharing is completely like inverted. And so you're either looking at ads and they're tracking you. They know what they know what you sent. They know the file name that you sent, even if you encrypt the file and then send it. A lot of is already known about who sent what to who. And very often when we think, well, secure file sharing, well, I'll just put it on Google Drive and then give somebody a link. And then once they download, I'll delete it. Well, Google just slurped the whole thing. Because you're being monetized. That's why the services are free. The whole point here is that you can pay like one Gaju for 100 megabytes or something to transfer that through a channel where nobody at all has visibility on the file contents from the moment it's leaving your computer going up. That you're not trusting intermediary, and you're not even trusting the certificate authority regime. Magic Wormhole Project or Onion Share. They may have some good solutions. They are not. It's a little bit hard to trust things that don't have a financial incentive to keep their nose clean. That I'm not saying that there's not solutions to this. There are, but there's not solutions to this that are really easy to use for the average user. This comes up in business all the time, where like a tech savvy person or another developer, yeah, they'll just encrypt the file themselves to the command line, attach to an email, nobody can see it, and send it off, and it's done. We do that inside of the team. When we have done that inside of the team quite a bit, like where I'll just be like, okay, well, I know your key. I'll just encrypt the thing and send it to you. And then you know how to use like the Gajumaru library to decrypt it, or you know how to use ECU tools to decrypt it. Inside of a tech savvy team, that's fine. But when it comes to what's a program that like everybody has access to and everybody's using for like, you use GajuDesk for logging into Gaju Market, use it for sending people money. We're using it for like login to like any kind of website you can just do with this. Since we already have that utility there and normal users are going to be touching this, adding a secure file service is a value add for like kind of the average business case. That's kind of why we're doing this here. It's not that, is there a solution to this problem anywhere? Well, yeah, there is. Is it easy to use for the average user? No, it's not. And further, purely community projects for things like that are fine, but they're typically not the most usable. So that's why we're trying to kind of match. Also, they're not, you have a problem with sort of why is it free to do that type of sending of especially large data? Well, it's because the metadata, the meta of that, you put it to a file upload service, and then that file upload service sent it on to somebody else. You either have ads, that's either ad sponsored, which is you're the product, or you have the metadata being sold on the backside through some kind of shady contract, and once again, you're the product. So completely eliminating that from the cycle by having monetization be upfront that costs a fraction of a Gaju to send a thing is the most like honest and above board way to do it. That's within the blockchain. So within so QBQ will just run a little, a data sharing service, and you would pay. So that down here at the bottom of this button says check quote. Sorry, anybody who's not seeing this chat, he's saying that's cool. So you can pay a small fee to send a file. How much? Who do you pay that to? So the service operator is just QBQ in this case, and QBQ the GajuExpress service will give you a quote, and it'll be like, this is how many bytes I want to send, and this is how many days I want it to stay alive. And then the QBQ service can send a quote back and say, okay, that's going to cost you this many pucks. A puck is the subfragment, the subfraction of a Gaju, which is it's like 1 quintillion pucks is one Gaju. So the value of the Gaju, if you look at like the mining license cost over term, is something like 1 yen. So it charge you a little bit less than a penny to send 100 megabytes for a week, to have that live for a week. So you could send about like a half a penny or something. You could send 100 megabytes to somebody. It costs like thousandths of a penny if you're just going to send like a normal file, like a picture or something to somebody. If you're going to send a large directory with gigabytes of stuff, it'll cost a couple of pennies. The point being that on Gajumaru, we can actually do transactions in these fractional penny values because the transaction cost is so low. If you try to do that with a credit card, the transaction cost with a credit card is like already $1.30 in many cases. So it's ridiculous to try to charge somebody 1 penny if the cost of processing the charge is like $1.30, right? So like this, it's these little tiny payment issues that are kind of niggly, and it's kind of warped the economics of the network, of just like the web in general, where like the whole web thing is to monetize views, but they never monetize posting. And today we live in this era of like AI can generate many times more content than all the people together typing. And we wind up with the only way to monetize stuff right now, because these fractional costs, the only way to monetize that is to monetize views and do the advertising route. But that means selling your customers down the river because they have no privacy now. And at the same time, because there's no barrier to posting, all of the public web is just trash, like all the time, because there's no barrier to bots just posting unlimited amounts of garbage. If you charged, like, let's just say you run a social media site and you set up a state channel high-speed payment system to them using like Capillary. That's like our state channel fast payment solution. If you used Capillary to be able to pay like 1/100th of a penny for a post on social media, the social media site already has gotten what it needs to. It's already gotten paid. So, and you don't really feel that. You're not going to post enough in a day for it to be like a financial burden to you. And bots are immediately priced out because the price of spam, dumping AI spam on a site like that, pays that site a lot to carry the spam, which is good for that site. So it keeps that site healthy, and it completely bankrupts the bot operators. So you wind up very quickly back in like a human dominated space with stuff that you actually care about. So let's see, you said that's interesting. So you're paying like a relay, right? Yeah, basically. And that's the whole point, is that to have a relay operate at a financial incentive, like redirect the financial incentive towards them instead of towards advertisers and towards site operators that are going to, sell your metadata, sell your activity, and spy on you. We want to remove that spy incentive because it's really corrupting. So like removing that spying incentive by having a possibility at all to do these little tiny payments very quickly using the mechanism that the Gajumaru provides is like, I think long term that can be very revolutionary, get us back to the real internet of humans, which I would prefer to see. I would also love to go to sites that are just fast again because there's no ads on them that take like, you go to like any media site right now, go to like CNN.com and check the size of the in-memory size of the page. It's like hundreds of megabytes per tab. New York Post, same thing. Like any of the media sites like that. Hundreds of megabytes per page, and then the content is like a couple of K of text and like maybe a megabyte or so of images that are like highly optimized, but it's hundreds of megabytes to get the page, and it's because it's all web framework stuff, and the web framework stuff is serving the interest of the ad network, and that's it. So your entire cost as a user, that your burden is all driven by the weight of the advertising, the ad auction market that's running in the background, and that makes everything slow and crappy. If I were to pay 1/100th of a penny to have a page load like that with none of that junk, I would totally do it. So this is sort of a leading case, secure file sending, point-to-point secure file transfer is kind of like a leading case that finally kind of culminates in that. But I need a couple of these utilities that kind of prove the case, that are useful for like normal people before I can start kind of making that like sort of a wrapper for a capillary wrapper for site services that's a little bit more generalized for people. Same thing with log on. So like when I log into a site, I can use the same key that's on chain to log on there. So authentication and this can be unified. So you have automatic like the globally unified ID if you want it. It's up to you because you can make new ones, right? But you can have a unified ID like automatically out of the box. That's also a payable address. That's also a sendable address with files. So like the more things you kind of connect to this, the stronger it gets. And this is what should have happened in blockchain like a decade ago. And everybody got like they just lost their minds with number go up. So I'm sick of that stuff. So that's why I'm doing this. This is sort of the leading one of like a half dozen leading cases that we're putting out, to just have some more general utility and actually use crypto for what it can do instead of the number go up crazy people that have like lost their minds. It's also sad that it's taken this long for kind of chain technologies to get up to the point to where there is something like Gajumaru at all. Because like you can't do micropayments on pretty much anywhere else. And yeah, anyway, that's the focus of this, is to kind of bring a general utility to a problem that we see over and over and over, especially in business, where I need to get the quote document from somebody, or I need to get the contract from somebody, but it's a confidential document under Swiss law and it can't be shared publicly. And somebody says, well, how do I send that to you that's safe? And people just kind of shrug like, Google Docs maybe, but no, totally not that. So the whole thing, sending materials back and forth to people about patents is like a nightmare of its own. And it all traces back to this issue. So anyway, that's why. So anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, we were looking at the text control update event. Yeah, you don't see it because of Tor. Yeah, sure. It's just like try to get the world on Tor. Also, Tor is kind of, yeah. I mean, there's a reality to Tor and there's the myth of Tor, and they're not quite the same. But the problem with Tor is that you're not going to get a lot of people using Tor. It's just always sort of a niche thing, and it doesn't really solve the. I just want to send a thing to you, and I don't want anybody else involved in that traffic. That's not a thing that you get. Almost every Tor endpoint is being mapped. Any government that has a significant signal intelligence collection apparatus is watching all the traffic in and out of Tor, and usually runs most of the Tor endpoints. It doesn't mean they can see everything inside of Tor, but they can see who connected to what and what message went where. Like it's just a kind of a mess. So that's what I mean by the myth is like bigger than the reality. There is a reality. It's a very good reality. It's the best sort of medium scale thing that exists. But it's just not, that's not a thing that you're going to see people in average business use. So that so your average, like the issue here is like your grandmother may well install Gaju Mobile to shop at the grocery store. And if she has that, then she can securely send you a file, or you can securely send her a file. She is not going to install Tor, and it's not going to touch her phone anyway. So like that's kind of, it's like there's a gap right there. And so that's what I'm trying to kind of aim for. Also, it's a shame that we've normalized spying so much these days. Goodness. It'd be great if that was not the case. So where was that? Command text updated. That's a command thing. Direct command, yes it is. To doink. Command text updated. Yeah. Okay, so we don't want to do download here. We're drop adjacent. We'll just call it check. We'll just call it check upload button for no good reason. Also, we don't actually need to return state in either of these, as a matter of fact. That we know of yet. So we're gonna handle state, but we're not gonna go. Oh, what's that? But you're also trusting a relay, which you do pay for, but it does mean that there's a third party, right? There's an intermediate. I mean, you have to get the bits from A to B, right? So you're trusting that the relay, well, the server that the bytes are going to be stored at until they get to their destination. You're trusting that they have a financial incentive to not sell you additionally, and their software is totally transparent, but they can't read anything at all. They can't even read the meta that they can see is the size of the file. They can see what you named the file, and they can see the public key that it's going to. That's true. They can. Now you can sign. That's the reason there's an option here, actually. So do you want to sign this transfer? If you sign the transfer, they could see for sure who it came from. But they can't, like, they could see who signed it, which is like the point of the signature. That, again, this gets back to a business case. If I sent you the patent documents, and I want to prove that I sent you the patent documents, I would want to put, as part of the payment for the transfer, I would want a record on chain that we could reference in court if we have to say, no, I definitely sent that to you, and here's the proof that I tried to send. This is when it happened. In email, you see that in disputes all the time, where it's like, did I send the email? Did he send the email or not? And you can't really prove it. And it's all like floppy and fuzzy. So there's, again, for the business use case, you sometimes you want them to know a little, like the transfer service to know a little bit about the sender. Other times you don't. And that's a decision best left up to the user. That's not a thing I think makes sense to like try to enforce on people. So anyway, you're trusting that service is going to get the bytes to where they're supposed to go as per, the agreement of you're going to transfer this to them whenever they check, right? That's what you're trusting them to do, but they can't see anything inside and they have no privileged access to anything. That's the whole point of using the public key for the encryption. Let's see. What did I do here? Do check. Button. Oh, actually, we're just going to run through this. Okay. Which we can actually use. It's fine like that. I was thinking like we could just call this from here, but there's not really a point in doing that. Okay. So let's back out of this. GD in. Oh, nope. Do I have I do have something here. Unbound 445. Okay, yeah. Okay. So we should be able to just pull this back up. Oh, actually, no. We want to pick a file first. So we're going to try to put this in there. Going to be disabled still. Then we're going to put this in here. Hey, and it works. Okay, cool. So that did exactly what we wanted to. So we do have our double check like we want. Now, when we get check quote, we're going to want to check all this and this. So these 4 things we're going to need to pull. We might want to restrict this just to integers because it's actually what we care about there. Need to think about that for a second. So it's not actually do upload, it's do check in this case. And I'm not going to check against the string. I'm not going to check against the string because that could be any language later. How do we know what case we're in? We don't yet have a quote, so we can use that to our advantage. Let's give ourselves a quote. The cost. So we should just get is integer. No. We'll just add a background value. be none or a positive integer. So this way we can separate our state. If quote is equal to none, then we're in this state. Okay, so we can kind of like differentiate on that. So what we want is oh yeah, we don't have a writer yet. So if we don't have a writer, then we're going to want to start one. And do pending do accounts, do check. It's kind of a similar situation here where actually we don't want him open yet. What do we want? We want the destination. We want the path. We want TTL. We want the signature. Okay. Now, based on that, I guess what we can do here is we'll just leave this off for now. We want this to be writer, though. What we want here is we're going to pack this stuff up and then ship that off to the writer. And that's that. So we want to get the destination. Get past P. We're going to have a check case on that. That's going to have to be kind of clamped down a little bit. I don't remember what this thing's called, like checkbox or something. Do. Dun. I think it's checkbox. Checkbox. Get 3 state value. They have a 3 state checkbox? Okay, they do. Neat. I don't want a 3 state checkbox though. What does the get value on this do? Okay, what's a 3 state value do? Don't want that. Ternary logic sucks. Well, useful sometimes, but I don't like it. Okay. So we need to check a couple of things. One is, I guess we could move through just like a mapping. Break these up a little bit. So check quote should only be entered when the writer's none. We'll go ahead and make sure that's true already. So that guy's gone. Okay. And I want to check that the destination actually decodes properly. So, well, okay. Case. What was it? I copy that and then GM serialization, API encoder, decode. Is it safe? Safety code. Oh, which one? Shoot. What's the type of this function? Pub key? public key, and then AK. That's not an invalid key prefix for a public key. It's the correct value. It's no way this takes a string. Oh, account pub key. That's what it needs. Account pub key. So the atom it's looking for is... there we go. All right, so that's what we want, is this. This should be the whole thing. Yep. Okay. Then we can continue to check quote 2. And if it barfs, what happens? Invalid encoding. What's one that we definitely don't have? Invalid encoding. Okay. It's just invalid encoding. Until I get something else. We'll just do these with tells for now. Check quote 2. Okay, we'll check the path. Case of the path. What about the path? Oh, well. Is file path. We want to know that for sure. Info. Check quote 3. Yeah, I don't need these. I'm being silly. pub key and path. Did I have a library function for that? I may have. I probably did. And the ZX Lib, I think, already has one of these. But I might be wrong. Valid lower. Maybe that's it. It's probably all characters. Yeah, it is. Okay, so the fast way, the dirty way, would be to that's weird. Okay. Sounds silly, but that's how the telecom language works. Okay, case. Yeah. Check quote 4. Blank, 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 blank. Okay. Okay, we'll just move on then. Okay, now we're to this part. Dripping condensation everywhere. It's so humid here. But it's rainy season, so figures. Okay, so we're down to this part. What would we want to do? We haven't talked to the writer for a couple days. Oh. Whoa. So on receive, we get, okay, the writer. Hey, I'm a writer. Before we actually start the writer, I'm wrong. What we want to do first is get some that can't be a singular return because we're going to have an error somewhere. Going to have to be in the little drop through thing. You know, we'll just number these. We'll see pretty soon here, like what's gonna, how bad things will be. Probably won't be that bad. Just gonna keep dropping through until we see the whole. That's how I often write stuff when I'm not 100% where the sequence is gonna go. I know the sequence exists. I just don't. It's not obvious to see where the shortcuts should be or if there should be shortcuts. So I'll just write like a procedure like this with like check quote 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. And each one, because there's lots of steps of verification before we get, like there's any number of places in this sequence where things could go wrong. So we're just going to go through the whole thing until we get to some more significant points, because every single part of this from here is side effecty and could blow up. So we might just have a lot of drop throughs. I don't care. What I hate is the nested case thing. That's like impossible to read later. And it's so ugly to try to manipulate. So, true. So check. Let's see. We'll do another case. Tarder. Check quote 6. And if it's something else, we'll just go back and do that. And case tar file. It'll be the same too. Okay, so at least we're on the same wavelength there. That'll be the same. Oh, I need to put the tar at the end. Duh. That way we kind of have a little fork in the road, but we don't go way off the rails, because otherwise we could. Okay. Now that does, of course, imply the existence of tar-dir and tar file. Oh, no. Tar path. I'm not keeping this in memory. This could be huge. Probably are huge. Okay. So tar-dir and tar file. I have to play with tar a little bit here. Which we did the other day, actually. Some on stream, even. Aryl tar. It's like open where it's supposed to go to or something. Yeah, tar descriptor. It's a data type that just isn't defined. That's bizarre. Okay, I'm pretty sure that what that's going to be is like a path. Create star file for writing. Okay, but I'm not going to do a lot of that. I want to do create. The files can either be read from disk or be specified as binaries. Yeah. Create. Okay. A path. There's like a current working directory thing for this. This must be it. Extract options. Right. Okay. Name file list. Okay. Okay, we need to come up with a temporary path to put this to. Okay. Okay. Maybe I don't need to differentiate these. Compressed dereference. Maybe that's all I need. I think it is. I think it's getting too complicated. I'll be right back. Okay, well, I need to step out. I'll probably be back really quick, but I need to step out and help my neighbors with some stuff. The old guy that runs this building needs a hand because we're in the middle of monsoon and he's getting kind of up in his years. So I'll be back on in just a little bit. Thank you for watching.